So today we are looking at the Neewer fs300c continuous light and the 120cm parabolic softbox. Hi guys, my name is John Spartman. I'm a wedding photographer and videographer based in Birmingham in the UK. Now Neewer have sent out the fs300c, which is a continuous light which is different to a flash light which will trigger when you're taking a photo with your camera in sync. This is just an always on, very bright, very directional basically modeling light, or just an ambient light, like a light you would have in the corner of a room. These are specifically made and tailored towards videographers. These have a certain set of features and cooling and equipment built into them to provide consistent high quality lighting, color accuracy and performance. Paired with it, and the reason why that this is so zoomed out, is this is the monstrous 120cm parabolic softbox. Parabolic is a kind of curve or dome to it which focuses the light in a uniform direction. So instead of light getting scattered and then going everywhere once it comes out the recesses at the top, it pretty much funnels it forwards like a huge spotlight beam essentially. Now these were both sent with the idea to review them. I get to keep them after, but I'm not sponsored to make this, but I want to say thank you to Neewer. Now the C in the 300C is a color RGB chip. Typically if you were to look at other lighting on the market, you would get ones which are a solid color, say 5600 Kelvin. You'd get bicolor, maybe with an abbreviation B. That would be one that can switch the tungsten balance from warm to cool. The C means it can do all of this, but it can also do temperature and tint. And then it has the full RGB modes around it, so we can go deep reds and blues. We can add filters. Instead of putting gels on the front, we can just code it into the continuous light. So first off, just to make my life easier, I'm going to remove this parabolic. It's a Bowen's mount, so it's very common, very easy to adapt, and if you want to take this and put it on a studio light, for instance, it will fit. There's no extra adapters needed, which is a really nice bonus. There's no native or Neewer only mount system here, which is fantastic. I'm just going to pull it out and pop this down for now. This thing is very, very hot because it has been filming at full power for a good 3 hours already. Now the light itself is basically one giant RGB chip here. We've got cooling, more cooling, huge amounts of cooling on this machine, and on the back we've got a panel with a couple of dials and buttons. We have an XLR type in DC power, so it comes with a big mains adapter and it will only run on mains, although I use V-mount to power some of my cameras and some of my smaller 120 and 60 watt lights. The 300 requires mains power just to get that much juice in, but that is locking, which is really nice. And then we have an umbrella mount and we have a pivoting base for it. So I've already taken this out on 4 different weddings over the past few weeks and some shooting with Alistair Currell, who I'm with today. We've had a mixed variety of modifiers on this as well as power. We walked through different ways of white balance checking and even tint matching on this. I've used it creatively as a orange glow and a red glow on a photo shoot as well, and the results on this has been really reliable and solid, which I'm a big fan of. So now I'm going to show you a couple of behind the scenes of this light in action, some of the reviews and honest feedback during the day, and then wrap this up at my studio at home. See you then.
Okay. So white balance settings, intensity. Oh, nice. It sounds really silly, but the knobs are super smooth. Sounds like a really silly thing to say. So power output wise, I mean, I'll be honest, that's more than acceptable for what we need it for right now, and it's on level 26. So I'll be honest with you, I don't think that I don't think that most people would probably need more than this. Sitting down, there we go. Right then, Matt. So, it's nice and light for such a big unit, for such a powerful light. It's quite light, if that makes any sense.
So we're back in the home studio. We have got the amazing carry case. I'm a big fan of carry cases this size. Now the light itself has a protective dome for the LED chip inside. This is because this thing is incredibly fragile, and if this breaks, the whole thing is gone. So keep that on when it's in storage. but bear in mind that these, after a long day of running, especially at 100%, will be incredibly hot. You should let these cool down before putting them in your bag because you can end up melting the polystyrene. My main uses though, I'll be using a reflector dome, which just clips in with the Bowens mount. And there we go, nice and sturdy. This is all metal. It's got a pattern on the inside which is slightly textured, which you should be able to see just there, which should focus the light, scatter it less. The 300 watt with that blasting across a room is just going to give so much power. With wattages with lights, when you double the wattage, so you go from 150 watts to 300, that is one stop more efficient, or one stop more power, double essentially. So if you had 150 watts and now you've got a 300, you can shoot at half power and it would be the same, or you can shoot at 100% and that would be double the power of your 150. This is at 1% and it's already hurting my eyes, but if we crank this up in real time, let's get this wall glowing. There you go, 100%. And then we can change the, let's go for changing the white balance. We can go for a cooler color, or we can go for a warmer tone. That's the bi-color part of this light. Or if we fancy something with, say, a filter, we can just press one button and we are now in the deep reds, which we can change gradually through the tones, which is really nice. We'll get to that in just a second. Now, there are so many practical applications to having a high-powered light that changes its color. I'm going to run you through a few of them which I would use as a wedding videographer and photographer. I use 120cm parabolic to do some interviews at a wedding. So we sat people down and we were going through, you know, how they met the bride and groom, if they're family, tell us fun stories. Just had that, and it was close enough and big enough to illuminate several people at one time. Even in a room which had uplighters and those little pot lights above, which would normally cast strange shadows on people's faces. The 300 watts output of that was enough to essentially kill those lights off, because this is more powerful and closer and bigger. And then we could dial in accordingly on the camera to control the aperture and all the other things. I think we needed to use an ND at that point as well, just because of the sheer output of this thing. A second instance, I used it with a lantern on the front, which is kind of like a shoot-through umbrella, but it is a ball. And I've used that for first dances. I've used that for just filling a very dark teepeed room where the dance floor was. I've also used this in the studio with my friend Al, who is a collaborator with Neewer himself, and I used it as the key light to fill up his studio. Now he shoots in a very fixed, quite small studio space where I can only really put one light down, and so I wanted a very big light to resemble daylight but be more predictable. Daylight, depending on what time of day you shoot, what time of year, cloud cover, rain, whatever, it can dip in and out, it can even change color. So putting the 120cm parabolic again on the 300 watt on a stand, I had it near where his window lights are and just replicating that continuous beam of window light magic. Now, a few things I picked up whilst testing this. I try and keep my workflow as simple as possible by using the least amount of dials and the least amount of settings possible. Obviously, something this high end is going to have a lot of features, and they've tried to cram it down into 2 dials which are pushable and 2 buttons. Intuitive standpoint, I would have thought that the left one would have been power, and you're right, absolutely is power, and the right one is adjusting color, which this one is. By pushing in on the right hand one, I can switch between Kelvin, which is the blue to yellow shift, down to the temp tint, which is magenta and green. Oftentimes, if you're shooting in somewhere, say, with fluorescent lights or strange light bulbs which aren't pure yellow or pure white, they might have a cast, like a slight tint to them. They might look a little too green or whatever. And when you try and balance all of your lighting to that, it can look a bit strange. Easiest way that I do it is I have a grey card and I shoot it in the ambient lighting and set a white balance on that, and my camera will tell me the Kelvin of it, but it will also tell me the shift needed temp tint wise to get it to perfect white. You can't do that with single chip colors, so white. You can't even do that with bicolor lights, so this is probably going to be one of my most used nuanced features. This button here will cycle through different modes, so if I hit it, I'm getting blinded. Let me just turn that straight down. We've got a full RGB spectrum here which we can change. If we want to change it again, we have got effects or lighting effects. So if you wanted to have something like a party vibe, or you wanted to use this as a room light that would mimic, this one I think is lightning, we can cycle through them on here, and we can change intensities, and we can do multiple different things. This one's quite nice, it's a little fire. So imagine having this and you could wedge it down in a fireplace down here or something. There we go. And it's just changing colour subtly, trying to make it mimic a fire. Then this one, when I don't blind myself, is really interesting. So I've been dealing with filters and gels for a very long time in photography, since the times you had to get a piece of basically see-through tinted plastic and tape it over your flash head. Go through and we can change different filters. So if I go for, let's go for a nice Lee gel number 115, and we turn up that intensity, got a nice teal. We've got a nice Roscoe 723 in blue, straight through to a 128 by Roscoe. This is great because if you are gelling a scene, one of photographers who I know and admire his work is Jake Hicks. He uses gels continuously on all of his shoots. This is a really nice thing to have inside of your arsenal, just having pre-programmed designated color shades, palettes and hues which mimic gels really accurately. So I could go out and I could buy a Roscoe 128 gel, or I could just have it inside my light here. So this, we can cycle through some presets which they've made and installed, which is really nice. It can save you a lot of time. So some criticisms of the equipment: the 120cm parabolic, there is no criticisms. That thing is incredible. If I could bring it into my room right now, I would 100%, but it is so goddamn big that you wouldn't be able to see me, I wouldn't be able to fit in the room. It is well built, it is collapsible, it comes in a carry case. The spines are not metal, which is actually a good thing. I have definitely had a rough time with Elinchrom softboxes where I've been trying to press in those spines and it's ruined my fingers. This thing's a lot easier on the hands, holds its shape well. The light itself, using the primary cases that I am, such as weddings, interviews, talking head kind of things, is fantastic. The ability to change the white balance and also the temp tint is really good for professional applications. Now if you want to pick up one of these products, they are in the links beneath, and I want to thank Neewer once again for sending one out for me. This is going to be one of my main lights. In fact, it is the main light now. It's replaced my 120 watt, and that is now my secondary light. It's going to follow me around for any corporate stuff, any YouTube stuff, and any wedding work where I need reliable light and I don't want to just rely on daylight because that's really unpredictable. I've been a big fan of Neewer for a very long time. I think my 5-in-1 reflector I bought from them maybe 13-14 years ago. I used it on a shoot last week. A lot of their accessories are very affordable, they're very robust. I've never really had any problems with it. If you want to check out one of my other videos on a FX30 build for weddings, you can see I use their cage and DJI adapter on top to hold my DJI transceiver. Overall, very happy. Hope to see you in the next video.